Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Jonathan Schofield. My friends call me Skofi, and you have stumbled across another episode of the MSP Water Cooler featuring Robert and Skofi. And today, if you saw my post earlier, we have a mystery guest, though I maybe should have kept you backstage for the mystery, but the mystery is not revealed. Jeffrey, welcome. Say hi.
Thank you for having me. What better way to impromptu what is this, Wednesday, than to talk with both of you gentlemen. So I'm happy to be here.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. So, if this is your first episode of the MSP Water Cooler and you're watching live from LinkedIn or YouTube, we appreciate you. We're glad you're here. But this is actually a show that is supposed to be less about the people you see on screen and more about you, the viewer. So, who is this for? If you're an IT business owner, an MSP business owner, you're responsible for sales, business development, marketing, or growth at your IT business, then you are going to find a lot of value out of this today. And you are actually supposed to be featured. In fact, we have a gentleman backstage who just hopped in, who is a regular of the show. And I see you back there, Ron. We're going to drag your butt out here shortly. So glad that you're here. I can see you smiling. No one else can see you smiling. I get that privilege alone until I bring you on screen. Anyways, we want you to ask questions. And Matthew, I see you in the chat. So, Matthew, I'm expecting a great question from you as well. Feel free to join us if you are up to it, Matthew, using that StreamYard link in the LinkedIn chat. If you're on YouTube, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You go over to LinkedIn. That's where the link is. Most of you aren't on YouTube yet anyways. So, get started. Ron, I'm going to drag your butt on stage here. How you doing, buddy? You're on mute, but you look fantastic. The stream gods are not favoring us yet.
This is some great radio show right here. Is
it not? While we're waiting for him to get his audio fixed. Lyle, glad you're here too. Man, you've probably got some great questions for us also. All right, so this is how it's going to work while Ron is figuring out his mic. We're going to bring each of you on screen, ask a question. We'll riff on it briefly. We're going to kick you off screen, and then Jeffrey and Robert and myself will discuss it in more detail and hopefully get some value. Each question will get between 5, 10, 15 minutes. Depends on how juicy and spicy it gets. And then we'll try and cycle through and get another question. If you're shy and you don't want to hop on screen, don't worry. You can drop your comment in the chat. Also going to do something different this week where if you do ask a question, we'd like you to take a version of that question and type it in the LinkedIn comments to juice the algorithm. So that would be very much appreciated. Ron, I think we got audio with you now. How you doing, man?
Good. Audio good?
Audio, you sound great. You sound fantastic.
There's so many buttons and levers here to deal with.
Yeah, it's like the Star Trek Enterprise.
Yeah, right.
You know? I get it. So, what's on your mind? You were with us last week. We had some really great conversations. Is there anything in the last 7 days that you've just has struck you, or you've seen something that's burning in the back of your brain, or maybe you've got a challenge for the three of us to sweat over?
Not a challenge. I thought I'd throw this out there. It's poignant. I was talking earlier with someone in regards to this topic, and you guys can maybe shed some light to on the point of time killing all deals. And this just came up recently, and it impacted some conversations we had internal leadership about the timing of certain things that happen, especially on the sales side, and what ranks in the organization. I just got off a leadership call for about 2 minutes where someone in leadership might have a certain idea about where a lead list, or is it the client that's more important that you currently have, and how to balance that in an organization where you're owner-led sales.
Wow, there's a lot to chew on there.
A lot to unpack there. And I'm sorry. I did this to Robert on a boat and for about a half hour. And he spewed all kinds of knowledge. I wish I had my applaud there that day, but it was
no, this is great. Let's try and condense it down into something we can fit between the nipples on my t-shirt.
Sure.
You know, time kills all deals. All right, I heard that. Ironic timing for you to make that statement. I literally did a pipeline audit of my own CRM this very morning. It's October 1st. Welcome to quarter 4, everybody.
All right.
I have $1.3 million in closed lost.
Wow. Is that what his number is?
Time killing all deals. It stings a little bit for me to say. But yes, I'd love to chat about that. Do you want us to? Does that fits here? Do you want us to talk about that, or is there some other iterations?
I would say on that topic, I think you have a gentleman in the room here that probably could speak to that in a wise way that would enlighten a lot of people.
All right, Ron.
That being
We're
Robert
so
Gillette,
glad you're here.
not Jeffrey Newton.
Also, so Ron, I'm gonna kick you off the screen. I'm gonna ask you to re-ask that question on the LinkedIn comments if you don't mind.
Sure.
And then Jeff Sumner, I see you backstage as well. So we're going to drag you on after we discuss Ron's questions. Appreciate you, Ron. Thanks for being here as always.
See you, Ron.
All right. I've got a million thoughts on this. Time kills all deals. In the IT MSP business space, I think especially when I keep hearing from MSPs that their average time to close can be 60, 90 days, in some case, multiples of years between first contact and close one. How many never make it? I'm sure a lot. So our special guest, Jeffrey, I'd like you to take a crack at this first. Let's establish the status quo, triage it, and what's the answer?
This was one of the very first, very hardest, and probably one of the most important lessons I learned as I transitioned from service to sales in MSP life. Was really, it comes down to sense of urgency, period. And sometimes it's hard to instill that in others regardless. So like I would say it's intrinsically there or it's not. Meaning like, how do you show up with any level of sense of urgency about any task? But specifically when you're talking about sales and selling, like you have to control the things that you can control. And one of the things that I would do, especially when I started coaching MSPs on sales to encourage them or show them how I was getting the results I was doing, was made them do not only a time audit, but really it was like a priority audit, and like put all the shit on a piece of paper that is in your head or on your plate of the things that you know you need to get done. And oftentimes when I would see that list at the very bottom, it didn't matter if there were 8 things on it or 28 things on it. The last 3 to 5 things would actually be the sales related things in owner-led sales. Everything else was the tech stuff, the business stuff, everything, So like that list always told me the priority and also the mindset around the sales-driven tasks. Like, I need to follow up on that quote proposal that I sent. And by follow up, that just means I'm going to send like 1 email 2 weeks later. And just like the mindset and the urgency period around anything sales related seem to be met with like the resistance or the avoidance a bit. And so why that lesson was the first one that I ever learned was the CEO of the MSP that I was at would burn that exact phrase into my mind. Time kills all deals. If we got a form fill from a website, if we got an inbound direct email, if we got a voicemail to the sales line on the Hunt group, like if it wasn't a full team motion to dive on the grenade, then it was nearly a fireable offense, quite honestly. And that one measurement of like time to contact actually did have a significant correlation to the close one deals versus the 1 point some million you had, Skofi, and the close loss deals. Because especially in the service business that we're in, right? People really only reach out to us when they need help. So if we don't demonstrate our timeliness or our urgency or how much we care in the sales motion, then what are they supposed to think about how we treat the service side of the motion on the support side? So it was so easy to use that one litmus test of all you have to do to succeed in selling and running managed services is to suck a little bit less than the other guy and stay in business a little bit longer. You already know how they all operate. They're going to wait 3 days to call that lead back. So drop everything, pick up the phone and call them.
I love that. Very insightful answer. Robert, I'd love you to take a crack at this as well. What thoughts, or you want to build on what Jeffrey shared?
Yeah, no, first of all, I want to absolutely not even rubber stamp, but bond and seal everything Jeffrey just said. I 100%, I think MSPs often underestimate the necessity of responding to a new prospect urgently. I personally have a deal that I closed where it was an accountant firm, and she, the office administrator was just dialing MSPs, and she booked appointments for the first 3 that picked up the phone. And then the 8 that called back, she ghosted. She just wouldn't even pick up the phone for them because she's like, if you don't have time for me now, you won't have time for me later. And I have this theory that when people fill out a form on your website and they're in the investigation stage and they're ready to talk to some people, or they leave a voicemail, it's an open task. Like the thing isn't done. But when they book an appointment, when there's a thing on the calendar, it's a checked box. And so that box is checked and they can move on to the other thing or the next thing on their list. They'll get to IT at the appropriate time because there's something on the calendar and that's coming. And so this idea of just being able to respond to a voicemail or just responding to a form on your website, there's certainly value and you should do that. But I wonder how much more value you'd get if you were there right then to help them check that box and just move on to the next thing. And then the other thing I would just love to add on top of this is, while I 100% believe time kills all deals is true, I also really love the phrase, whoever controls the clock controls the deal, because there's an element that time plays once we're in the conversation to controlling the clock. And if you've ever played chess, you know this. When you're the one that has more time than the other person, you just have control of the game so much more as time slowly runs out for them and you've got all you need. So whoever controls the clock, as the appointment is set and we're trying to do that investigation, controlling the clock doesn't mean going fast or slow. It means just having the ability to make decisions about what we do next based off of whatever's happening in the sales process. Whoever has that and controls the deadlines usually gets what they want. So I don't know. Does that get you what you're looking for, Jonathan?
I'm not the one looking. Ron is the one looking, and he just said Yoda's out here dropping some knowledge. So I love both of y'all's answers. What I might layer on top of all of that is, remember, IT providers, you don't sell a widget or a gadget, pizzas, shoes, or a SaaS product I can add to cart and check out. There's always an incumbent in every deal that you are working. And your largest competitor is most often just the status quo of them to accept the pebble in their shoe or whatever problem they're dealing with and make no change. So it's really critical on the front end of the buying process. Like, part of your qualification effort early on, before you even sniff out that there's an actual deal, is getting an understanding of their timeline and urgency so that you can set expectations to hold them accountable to it. So often I see folks, like, they had a great discovery call and they walk away and they email a 40K MRR proposal, to the customer an hour later, and then it's crickets, and they find themselves constantly in this follow-up cycle, check-in cycle, circling back cycle. And it's really stressful because that work on the front end was never done. So they get the sticker shock of the proposal that was not delivered the way it should have been done. And then they're like, you know what, this pebble in my shoe maybe isn't as critical as I thought. It's not ideal, but we can continue on another year or renew with our current provider, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, that's the only thing I would layer on top of that. Any other thoughts, Jeffrey, Robert, on time kills all deals for MSPs?
The only other thing that I'd add to it is this idea that, you're both, again, I talked to ScaleCon about this idea of a co-op game. It's not like any one person gets to dictate the time of what happens to someone else. It's figuring out how to get both of you what you need to beat the problem, to beat the board. And so a lot of sales guys think that to control the clock means to grip the bat really tightly. No. And again, I would encourage you to think of control more like an air traffic controller. Like, I can't make the plane do what I want. All I can do is help them understand what's around them and how to get them the safe outcome they're looking for. And then they cede that control to me because they understand I have the full picture and they do not. And that's really what we're trying to achieve. It's not like I'm grabbing the plane and making it go. I'm just the best advisor for them in that moment.
I like it.
Yeah. The second, I would call like the second order effect with time killing all deals. It goes to what Robert was touching on too, is probably the second most significant thing we did was eject the sales motion from the internal MSP process. And what do I mean by that? When I handed the sales team and had to run deals through the cycle the way it was designed, which was to use the technical process the same as customers would, from basically first meeting to proposal document was roughly like 3 months if there was projects involved, because we had to go through a horrible process, project management process, with a 6-month backlog and scoping and arguments and back and forth and all the tech crap that happens in every MSP that no one talks about. The salespeople had to go through that same motion. So the very first thing we did was eject the sales linear motion of getting those things done out of the same support structure with priority. And we went from 3 months to 3 weeks to do the same exact atomic steps to get the buyer what they needed to make their business decision. Now, if you were trying to make the decision for the betterment of your business, would you rather have the answer in 3 weeks or 3 months? It's another way of thinking the second order effect on time and not thinking through the lens of like your own best interest or your process, but instead, how do you get the buyer to the decision they're trying to make the fastest?
Really great all around. So we're going to transition here. As we transition, just shout out to everybody who's been hanging out with us today. Matthew, I saw your comment in here dealing with audio issues earlier on. Yes, the irony isn't lost. Katie, always great to hear from you. Thanks for hanging out with us here today. We're going to pull our next guest question person. I need to come up with a better term for that. On stage. And no stranger to the show, Jeff Sumner. How are you doing, brother? You're on mute, but you look fantastic.
I'm always good.
And I got to say, this is my first time seeing your ink. Holy crap. I had no idea. This is fantastic. You look amazing.
Yeah, I just came from the gym, so. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Well, thanks for spending some time with us. What did you think of the previous conversation that Ron started with time kills all deals? And then I want to hear from you.
I thought it was great, right? And I apologize for the lighting. I know it's terrible. I think I mentioned, was it last week or in some other conversation about friction, right? So that's the same thing. Time kills all deals. Friction kills all deals. How do you make it as frictionless an experience for your client or potential client as possible? And I agree with these guys. If they're fighting to get headspace from you, then even though lots of times the services team might be great at delivery and they might get things automatic, right? And it might be the exact opposite. And the sales team is always the one that's trying to get things done. But in the client's mind, they're both the same. If you do sales this way, you're going to do service that way. And I think a lot of MSPs probably, and I've been guilty of this too, is the sales team is the one that's slow. And you've got the greatest service team ever. But if you're slow getting back to them, trying to convince them that, hey, yeah, service isn't like this, it doesn't fly with them.
I'm going to make one comment on this, and then I want to hear what your question is or your scenario for us to wrestle with is. I made a little infographic last week that kind of basically guides people through like basic, very, very basic sales 101 stuff. And the very last slide for sales professionals that I said, like do the stuff you said you were going to do, like keep your promises. And when I hear about sales teams that are slow to engage or slow to get answers back to customers, like that's like 101. Like, man, do the stuff you said you were going to do, show up where you said you were going to show up. And it absolutely can, in the buyer's mind, is a reflection of what their relationship is going to be like with the service provider. What's it like being sold to by you? What's it like early on? Like you never get a second shot at a first impression, like they say, right? So that, I love that and absolutely insightful. So Jeff, do you have something spicy for us to kick around or sweat with today?
Well, well, you tell me, right? So the question is, in your guys' opinion, is it better? So you're say owner-led sales, founder-led sales, and you want to make the next step. Is it better to go out and find somebody, hire someone, vet them and do all that, have a dedicated salesperson, or to move one of your techs who has a ability and turn him into a sales engineer?
That is such a fun one.
Which would you rather?
Oh, are you saying I think they're both kind of the same question, right?
Well, that's the question. Would you rather hire a dedicated salesperson or shift one of your techs over to sales engineer?
All right. So Jeff, I'm going to kick you off the screen for us to sweat with this one a little bit.
Okay.
I want you to do me a favor, go to LinkedIn and drop your question as a comment there as well to juice the algorithm. and then we'll have some fun here. And then Eddie, I see you backstage. You're going to be on deck next in about 10-15 minutes with your questions. So make sure your audio, camera, and everything's ready to go, and we'll bring you on. Looking forward to having you. Jeff, thanks. Always good to have you. And we're going to kick you out and we're going to do the thing. All right. How many times, gentlemen, have you been asked this question?
Oh, every time an MSP owner got to the point where they needed to ask themselves.
Yeah, I don't think I get the words sales coach out before someone asks me this question.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. What's the right first move or the right next move for growth is usually like the lens that it comes through.
That's right.
I'm pretty biased in that of the 18 years in the MSP space, I took the arc of 10 or 11 years on the tech side before moving into that sort of dead zone, if you will, of being an account manager, VCIO. And then eventually in those roles, I was really a sales engineer with those titles, and then moved into sales rep and sales leader. So I can answer it from experience, but I can also answer it from experience in how I built and grew those teams. But I do think it's important to also anchor this into the context maybe of like the size or the hierarchy of MSP we're talking about. So an MSP that's just thinking about making their first growth hire, right? So it is founder led. You're probably still in that certainly sub 3 million, probably closer to like sub 1.5, less than 20 employee range. If that's about where you are, then it's a different sort of design than maybe a little bit further on. So the first question really is, one, do you have that person or not on staff currently? The second piece of that is it what that person wants to do? And oftentimes what they think they want isn't what they actually want either if they slide into it. So do you currently have a natural motion with one of your technical people that is already very natural at stepping into what would be defined as a dedicated sales engineer role, even though it's not dedicated yet? And then are you getting the results that you want or you need out of that? Now, the giant disclaimer in that, even from my own personal story arc, is I was a phenomenal sales engineer underneath those names, those titles. However, I got my ass humbled as quickly and as hard as possible when I was a sales rep on my very first appointment, doing the exact same things I did for 3 years as a VCIO. And so it's a fundamentally different game, engaging different parts of the brain. And so you really need to set that person up for success in that role, and also like set the right expectations around how it's going to be different and how it's going to change. Because being a sales rep is far different than just the moments that you're on stage when the sales rep brought you on stage to perform in a meeting with a client. And so you really need to know how to manage the entire orchestrated motion rather than just show up on stage and perform really well. That was the tough truth that I had to get through. So maybe there's no one right answer or there's not a wrong answer, but I would ensure that if you have that person on staff and if they're getting you the results already, one, when they have the option to make that leap, that they're running towards something they truly want and not running away from something they don't want anymore. Like that's a pretty big like litmus test component of whether or not success will exist there too.
All right, folks in the comments, what do you think of Jeffrey's answer to Jeff Sumner's question? And just to reiterate, the question is, would you rather hire an experienced technician or promote from within an experienced technician on your team into a sales role, or should you go out and hire from outside the organization someone into that initial sales role? And Jeffrey, I just want to comment on what you said. I think being sensitive to who you're promoting into that role and is it a thing they even want is really critical. And I would say just hiring people to your team in general, you should be investing in their career path from day one. And even if that just means like, hey, this is where you're starting, but the goal is never for you to stay here in this exact forever. If you hire a tier 1 technician and you are giving them the impression that they shall forever be chained to tier 1 tickets as an employer or a manager, I would say you're failing. So hopefully you've had those conversations with those engineers and technicians early on in the process, like, where is it you want to go? And when you're bringing them this new opportunity, is there alignment? Is there alignment with who they are, what they want, where they're going to go? Because a round peg into a square hole in an already tough sales ecosystem is a recipe for disappointment and frustration, I would say. So thank you for being sensitive to what does that person even want.
Yeah, and
Robert,
it's really important to double down on that real quick, because that wasn't the only time that I found myself in a situation where I like stepped up to and into what the company asked of me. My whole career was that way. Every single role, every single position. So when I went from being a technician to managing 27 people when I was 24 and had no business leading anyone, it was just because the company needed that and like reacted out of it, right? Like step into the thing. And the pattern I saw then over the course of time was that most MSP owners, because you're coming from a reactive state in what you need to solve in the business, you feel or you believe that the problem is resolved once you make the decision, not once you've like led through the transition, right? So to be specific, you appoint yet great tech person as the new salesperson, and like all of a sudden the sales problems are solved. But what about like how to set them up for success, manage a 90-day process, ensure they have the tools, the knowledge, the resources available to be successful in that role? How are you holding them accountable? All those things. We seem to be off to the next fire too quick.
I agree 100%. Robert, you take a crack.
Yeah. So again, there's a huge, giant asterisk here about what size is your MSP and what's its maturity and how much revenue do you need and how soon do you need them to produce. And are we talking about a new hire or a guy that you already know? So there's a ton of nuance here, but the one takeaway I had after hearing everything Jeffrey say, which I think I all agreed with, I have to go back and watch the tape, but this idea that the person that you're hiring is going to take over sales, like I think we forget how long it took you as an owner to get good at sales. So it took you a certain amount of time to grow from where you were to where you are, and it probably wasn't 90 days. It was probably, there's a whole lot of non-sales operational maturity and executive level processing and acumen that came throughout the process of starting and growing your business that all contribute to your success in sales. Well, it's going to be really hard to just wholesale pick that up and put that in a new salesperson. And so I think we underestimate oftentimes what is a reasonable level of success because we're operating from our level of excellence and acumen. And so it's very hard. You have to have reasonable expectations there is the first thing. And then the second thing that I would encourage people to is like, I don't really care if they have a technical background. I don't care if they have a sales background as much. I think for me, the most important thing is, are they interested in and able to and willing to commit themselves to getting an MBA in MSP sales? Because it's like no other sales in the world. It's like no technical process in the world. And it will be the level of work getting an MBA will be. Are you prepared to learn as much, as Jeffrey said, to suffer through as much humility and embarrassment? Are you willing to practice and consume? Are you even at the point in your career where you can say, I need to put my white belt back on, even though I'm a black belt in other areas? Like, are you ready and willing to do that? And are you able to? Or do you really need to clock out at 5 and be done? Like this is like getting an MBA in sales. Are you willing to commit to that level of professionalism? Or do you think you're hot stuff and you're just going to crush it? Like, these are important things. Or are you a technical person hoping I can just tack on a couple sales books and my technical will take me? It's just not going to be that way. That person has to be willing to go get an MBA in MSP sales, and it's like nothing else you've ever done.
And I would even say, respectively, yes, Robert, and you as their boss now need to be ready and willing to invest in that education right along with them. Like, I had this conversation yesterday in a live stream with a gentleman that does like near or offshore staffing type stuff. And I was asking him questions like, what are the most common reasons that a virtual assistant doesn't work out, or, an entry-level tech doesn't work out? And then his answer, which I thought was really good, is like, Well, you first need to define what does good look like in the role. Okay. So a lot of IT business owners hire this generic sales role, and what they're in truth doing is passing the hot potato of MSP growth and abdicating the responsibility for taking ownership of growth to a resume, in hopes that if I throw this resume at the problem of sales, that problem of sales will no longer be mine, and I will just be able to focus on the stuff that I am better suited towards. And that is a fundamental error in hiring people. You can't throw resumes at business problems and hope business problems or challenges or goals to go away or be achieved. Okay. So if it requires an MBA level of education to master MSP sales, and you do not yourself have that MBA, how are you going to help that new employee achieve that MBA? Because just as much as they need to take ownership of this new role you've hired them into, it is your responsibility to empower your employees to be successful and to achieve what good looks like in that role.
Jonathan, can I put the tough love on this? Is that all right? Just a little gentle, tough love. Like 70% of the problem is finding people that are committed to MSP, MBA, and sales. But the other part of it is, as soon as you hire your first sales guy, you're now the sales manager. And so this is kind of like just encouraging people don't quit bad jobs, they quit bad managers. And so recognize, how is this, if someone's willing and able to commit to that MBA in sales, how are you willing and able to commit to being a good sales manager? Because that person, if they're truly the right person, need and want and are rewarded and dopamined in very different ways than every other employee at your company. And so you can't treat them the same way as you treat your techs or your assistants or even your project managers and your service desk managers. Like, these are very different people, motivated, and they think and process and go after things in very different ways. And if, as a leader, it's not your intention to adjust for that person, it's unlikely they will both be incredibly successful and stay there a long time. They might be horribly unsuccessful and stay there a long time, or average successful, maybe. But chances are, if what you're trying to do is invest that $100,000 or that $200,000 you're about to spend on hiring a person, you have to ask yourself, I would encourage you to ask yourself, what are you prepared to do to be a good sales manager your first time in this seat?
We got a comment from Sam here. I started my business to help people with their tech, not to become a salesperson, and certainly not to become a sales manager. I think a lot of business owners, you didn't have a choice. The moment you started a business, you promoted yourself into a sales role, right? If you're the business owner, congratulations, you do sales now. And it just comes with the territory, right?
Until you're wildly successful and you have a bajillion dollars, then hire people to do that and hire a sales manager. If you don't have a sales manager, you're the sales manager. If you don't have a salesperson, you are the salesperson. If either of those two people can't hit their goals, then it's your job to do it.
That's right. That's right. All right, we're going to take a little bit. Go ahead.
Go for it. Robert hits such a great point in that you really have to do some soul searching as what kind of owner and what kind of path you want to take too. Because you got to think about the vacuum or the void that you're creating when you take the next step to like move the pieces around on the board. So it's straight to Robert's point. Like, do you want to become that sales manager or not? And then really figure out how to leverage the magic of your own skills and then put the people in the right spot, in the right position, around the board as you do that.
Fantastic. Yes. The StreamYard is doing weird things on my end. All right. Okay.
I'm glad you're driving and I'm not.
And we got Sam backstage now. Thank you for being here, Sam. Now I'm going to let you drive more. Okay, so we're going to bring our next guest, MSP business owner, on screen. Eddie, I see you back there. I think your audio issues have been resolved. Is your webcam working? Want to bring you out here. And there's the man, the myth, the legend.
I'm on the road, though, so hopefully it works out okay.
You look amazing. I can hear you loud and clear. Things look beautiful in California, as always. How have you been, Eddie?
Been good. Can't complain, man. That's fall is coming, and I love this season.
100%.
Or fall is here, I guess.
So have you been, as you've been driving, have you been listening to the conversation so far?
I have, and it's definitely very interesting. I like that whoever made that comment about we are essentially the sales manager now. That is 100% true. One of my peer groups actually recommended me a book called
Oh no, we lost your audio. Was that just me?
No.
Oh, Eddie, we lost your audio. No.
Read at the book I wanted to hear about.
I know.
Yeah, man, just give me the book.
No audio, Eddie. We can't hear you. Oh no. Oh man, you'll have to tell us what the book is later. I'm gonna
drop it in the comments.
Yeah, drop it in the comments. Yeah,
It's such an open loop.
All right.
Gosh, that's gonna hold me for hours.
We love Eddie. Eddie, I know you're on the road, so maybe you're having network issues or something. I don't know, but I'm going to, for the sake of time, and I think he's still talking. I see him backstage. I think he's going to leave and come back. Sam, I'm bringing you out. How are you doing? You're on mute, but you look fantastic.
Not without warning. Not without warning.
How have you been, buddy? Glad you could make it.
Thanks for allowing me to join.
Well, yeah, and thanks for driving when you're backstage. I really appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, Sam is our volunteer producer, and we love Sam quite a lot. So when he's here, he makes things easier.
No, you pay me. You just haven't figured that out yet, but we'll talk about it later.
The invoice is in the mail.
Hell yes.
Volunteer. No.
So on days like today, when we have a special guest, I appreciate you all the more because before you showed up, I was playing StreamYard Monkey and trying to have insightful comments at the same time. And boy, the multitasking is not strong with this one. So we appreciate you, Sam. Eddie, I see you backstage again. We're going to give Sam a crack at a question while hopefully your audio stuff gets worked out. And if there's time, I definitely want to drag you back on screen, Eddie. Do you have anything for us, Sam?
I was actually just I was a little late for the stream, so I missed the introduction. I'm dying to learn more about SIFT.
Man, he's just going to set you up like that, Jeffrey.
Yeah. Fair enough. You want me to take that question, or you want to bring Eddie back on? I'll do either.
Well, you give him like the elevator pitch in 2 sentences or less.
Imagine a world where technicians didn't have to even think about documentation, and time entries and SOPs and everything else was created for them as a byproduct of doing the work rather than being the work itself.
That's a good world.
Yeah.
They keep saying AI is going to cure cancer and cure global warming. I would really like it to make sure I don't have to spend an hour of documentation every day.
We'll start with never submitting it, or I guess you can submit the timesheet, but never having to fill one out again. It's just done for you.
Yeah, cool. Sam, if you've not had a conversation with Jeffrey, then you're in for a real treat. I'm glad that you get to meet him today. He's a gentleman and a scholar, and we're glad that he's spending time with us today. Sam is OG and has been with us for the water cooler since the beginning. So
nice. Great to meet you, Sam.
Great to meet you too. Thanks for being on.
Yeah,
do you have a sales MSP growth question for us at all today, Sam? Sometimes you got spicy stuff for us as well.
Actually, with the holy days around here, I've been dealing with other stuff, but so I don't have a inspiring, thoughtful question.
That's okay. I see Eddie's backstage, so we'll try this one more time, and I think we'll have time for maybe one more question. By the way, I want to reiterate again for everybody who's watching us live or watching the recording back later, we're so grateful for you, and we're so grateful for the questions you bring us. And this is meant to be a resource and value add to you guys. So hopefully it's meaningful to you. Don't be shy in the comments. And if you don't want to drag yourself on screen like Eddie and the others have been brave enough to do, feel free to leave a comment and ask your question that way, and we can discuss there. Sometimes it's not possible to be on screen, but did we just lose Eddie again?
I brought him on for a second, and but I was letting you finish your thought, and he dropped off immediately.
That's all right. Well, if we don't have another question, I have one that I actually was trying to encourage these individuals to join us today, but I don't know if my post got approved or whatever. But there's this individual on a Facebook group with MSP owners in it. She says her name. She says she's new to the group. She says the name of her business. She says, I recently converted from break fix to MSP, and I'm struggling to find MSP clients. What are some tips? If I had a nickel for every time I saw that commented on the forums, I wouldn't need to work. I see it all the time. So what's your recommendations, gentlemen, for someone who is just figuring out this business model, and what should they do next?
Robert, you want to go first?
Yeah, man, I'm happy to
I know
dive in.
you gotta jump soon. So
Yeah, that's all right. I got 9 more minutes. But I mean, again, knowing nothing about this person, so as an attorney would say, with no special circumstances, one of the universal laws is it's 10 times easier to get a second dollar than your first. So the first question is like, what can you be offering to your current clients who already trust you and pay you money? How can you be climbing up what I would call the executive branch at a company? Because chances are, if you've been doing break fix, or you're just a vendor or a VAR or something like that, you probably have inroads to the company, but you don't have a seat at the boardroom table. So the question is there anybody who's already giving you money who you could climb your way up that executive branch to sit at the boardroom table and help them figure out how to solve their problems with technology? Not solve technological problems, but solve their problems with technology. If you can find a way to do that, chances are you're going to be fine for a good long season without any real new clients, because everybody you're talking to is potentially, everyone that already gives you money is also a potential MSP client, and you already know their phone number, you already know their email, they already talk to you when you call. So don't spend a bunch of time prospecting to strangers unless you've already done the hard work of climbing that executive branch.
Yes, I have
That's a
some
damn
thoughts
good
here,
answer.
but I want Jeffrey to take a crack at it first before I say anything.
Yeah. So on the heels of what Robert said, because that's a damn good answer, when you're going through that exercise of figuring out who's actually giving you money already, do so with the next step in mind, which is to go down that list of clients as you're doing it and thinking through the lens and classifying them as like, who are the best ones? Who do I love serving? The ones that I love to pick up the answer for and will fight to pick it up, rather than the ones that I let roll to voicemail because I don't want to talk to them. Right? That's like litmus test number 1. Right behind that is like, can you actually help them and solve their problems with technology, as Robert said? And then, can they pay you? Like, do they pay you well? Well, do they pay on time? Can they pay you? Like, those 3 criteria, if you stack rank the clients, what bubbles up to the top? And then what commonalities do you see amongst sort of the mixture of clients that you probably have if you're at that stage of break fix to managed services? Because ultimately, this really comes down to like niching, positioning, messaging, and like some of the marketing components. And those answers we make so much harder than they need to be as technicians and like technical minded people. So if we go look for the answers in the data set that we already have, then we can answer a lot of the questions that we would otherwise struggle with. Like, maybe orthopedic surgeons are the thing that pop up to the top. Maybe it's dentists, although I doubt it for anyone. Maybe it's just the standard professional services, right? Like, whatever it is, you'll start to see that, and then you deduce the characteristics from it. And then you can start to figure out, okay, where are the like businesses that I can target that will absolutely be referrals if I were to ask this orthopedic surgeon to give me one, and like reverse it into a game and make it as easy as possible for yourself. But do it through the lens of, what business are you trying to build, and are you going to enjoy it when you build it?
I love that so much. In fact, I make a recommendation to MSPs that I do consulting with, an exercise that we frequently run. I tell them, it's like, all right, on our next session together, I want you to bring a spreadsheet, and I want you to just have your top 5 customers, their company names, and their websites. And when I say top 5, I mean, these are the customers that if you had 25 more of them next year, your business would be completely different and it would be way, way better. Like, well, that's what I mean by top 5. You would love to serve them, like what you said, Jeffrey.
Mhm.
They're going to pay you. When you think about working with them, that you get goosebumps. You're like, man, I would love to have 25 more of this client. And then what we do is we pull up the URLs of those websites of their top 5 customers, and we look at them and look for what's similar and what's different. And one time I did this with one of my MSP partners, and one of the top 5 was a nonprofit that was a friend of a friend, and said, we love these guys, we have personal relationships with them. I said, is it a profitable account? Do you make money? And he laughed. He said, no. I said, oh, we just love these people. I said, okay, great. So maybe as a go-to market strategy, maybe not this particular sector. Right. And then I identified 3 of the 5 were in manufacturing, and I all had high compliance requirements. I said, oh, that's interesting. So maybe we're a little closer to the bead on what your ideal customer is. So I love that. Also, as we wrap up, because I know we got to kick Robert out here soon, Lyle made a comment. A big problem was we do not speak the same language as our prospects. And I do think this is a challenge with people transitioning from break fix to MSP, and when like getting, duplicating the dollars you already have, Robert, I think this is a big challenge that individual business owner is going to be faced with. They're not necessarily used to talking about proactive business outcomes versus reactive. You have problems, let me fix it now. So what would your suggestion, Robert, before we lose you to the dojo?
Yep. Super easy. This is the easiest thing in the world to do. I don't know why we don't do it. It's so easy. It's one of the few things in life that is simple and easy. Call up the highest ranking person that will pick up the phone, and you say, hey, I'm running my annual customer SWOT analysis. Do you have 10 minutes? Hey, what are the strengths of your business? What are the weaknesses of your business? What are the opportunities you have in your business? What are the threats that stand against your ability to capitalize on those opportunities? And you just talk about it with them for like a half an hour. And then you go back to your leadership team, the people, anyone you have internally, your business coach, whatever, you're like, can we solve any of these with technology? And if the answer is yes, go back and tell the prospect about how you would do that. And if they like your answer, they're going to give you money. So that would be my recommendation. If you've never done this before, just go ask them what their problems are. They'll tell you. Ask the smart people, can we solve any of these with anything we can charge them money for? If the answer is yes, go tell the prospect, and they might give you money to do it.
All right. Now, just because I'm greedy, I want to pull Eddie on here one more time. I see you pulled over, and just, if nothing else, to commend the effort of making it so you could show up again. I'm so glad you're here. Can we hear you? Can we say something?
Yes.
We got you back.
Victor,
all right. We're going to be wrapping up the stream now, but I wanted you to come on here, Eddie. If nothing else, I want you to ask your question so we can have it in the hopper for next Wednesday. And we may briefly touch on it, but we do have to hop off the stream here very shortly. So Eddie, what's your question for Robert, Jeffrey, and myself today?
Well, I don't know if it's a question or more of a comment, but I have found out that outbound sales just doesn't work for MSPs. Again, I saw that look. So reason being is, again, it's a relational sale, right? And I'm seeing a trend here where a lot of business owners, they just like to use their nephew because he helped set up the internet at home, whatever the case may be, right? You know what? Why don't you just help my business? And then I've seen prospects with like full enterprise equipment for their like 6-person shop. So, but they rather do that because it's more of the comfort thing. So I guess this is my question. Should we put more effort on inbound efforts, meaning marketing, messaging, and just, hey, I'm here. This is what we do. I could be your nephew or whatever it is. What's your take on that, guys? I know Robert.
Eddie, man, what a hot one to end the stream on.
Dude, come on, man. You gotta give me 90 minutes for this alone.
Oh, I know. We have like 16 seconds, and you have queued up. You have queued up next Wednesday so perfectly, Eddie. So thank you so much. When you get a chance, reiterate your question in the LinkedIn comments when you get a chance, so that we have it for next week and it juices the algorithm a little bit. I'm going to kick you off stream and we're going to wrap up. But Eddie, thank you so much for making the effort to be here. Gentlemen, this has been really, really fun. And Eddie just gave us like a hot potato that I just wish we had more time for. I know each of us have very strong opinions on this question.
I try not to actively scowl at questions, but that was a tough one to suppress.
Ooh, I know.
But dude, I want to just I feel his pain. Like he's not, I don't want Eddie to feel bad for asking that. This is the big struggle. People are trying to figure out, how do you make the thing work for you? So way to have the courage for bringing that up on the show, bud.
Absolutely.
100%. And it's for good reason that he has that feeling, right?
Yeah.
Because each one of us could tell multiples of stories of IT providers who hired people for that role or outsourced to an agency for those roles and had horrible experience and lit money on fire. And the conclusion they come to is outbound does not work.
Eddie, I just want to encourage you. I had a coach that said your feelings are real, but they're not always true. So Eddie, and anyone else listening to this, it's totally real that you're feeling that way.
That's right.
The good news is there is an answer. And I think we're gonna have to get to it next week.
Yeah, because Robert, you got to go to the dojo, and
dojo
Jeffrey,
starts, and
you got to go
in
continuing conquering the AI world, and I got to go back to matching MSPs to their next customers. So we appreciate you all for joining us. Tune in next week for our next episode of the MSP Water Cooler. Special thanks to Jeffrey Newton, our mystery guest today, and to everyone who asked questions and engaged. We appreciate you all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. See ya.